Welcome back Year 3. It's time now to make our seascape, just a bit like this one here. Okay, now to do this you will need the following. You will need your sketchbook open to 2 blank pages together like this. You will need quite a medium thick brush, and it needs to have a flat head, so not round but flat. You also need a fine detail brush to do the details at the end. You need just a writing pencil, and then you need these colours of paint. You need blue, red, black, white and yellow, okay? You also need a tissue to clean your brush and dry your brush, a pot of water and some masking tape, okay? And I also have a picture of the seascape, the photograph that I shared with you on the learning page. You don't need to print it off, you can look at it from the computer if you would like to. Okay, so let's get started. Now the first thing I want you to do is to take your masking tape, tear off a section and just place it on the edge of your piece of paper where you're going to do your painting. This just makes it, and you're going to put it all the way around. You're going to just do a little edge on this page. Try and get it nice and straight. Oops. So make it straight and just overlap that page. So that means that the paint, when you paint, it won't go over the edge of the masking tape. So all the way around. I'm going to do this side as well. It also helps you to keep your sketchbook nice and still, but it gives you a nice border and means that when you paint, just cover a little bit, you don't get paint all over the other page, okay? Right, the next thing I want you to do is I want you to annotate your book. Now, all artists annotate their sketchbooks. Annotating means you have your work on one side, and on this side, you write about what you have been doing. So we're going to make a seascape today. So today is the 10th of September. When you see this video, it won't be the 10th of September. It will be a different day, but this is when I'm doing it. When you do your annotations, please use pencil, not felt tip, because when you use pen, it goes through to the other side. I'm using pen so you can see in the video, but please use pencil. Then I'm going to write seascape, because that's what we're learning to do, a seascape. And underneath, I'm going to talk about what technique I'm using. So I'm using tones, tints, and shades. And what you might want to do is you might want to write tints is when I add white. Shades is when I add black. It's up to you. This page is just to remind you of what you're doing. Okay, what piece of work you're doing and what you're learning to do. So let's get started. Now, if you notice in this seascape, it's split into 3 parts: the sky, the sunset, and the blue sea. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to divide my piece of paper roughly into those sections. Okay, and if you remember, I spoke to you about the word blend. Blend is when you slowly change the colour. So the colours start dark, they get lighter and lighter, and then the colour changes to another colour gradually. Now, to get this effect, there are 2 things you need to do. You need to have a nice wet brush so that the paper gets wet and the water spreads the paint. You also need to move your brush in long strokes backwards and forwards. You mustn't be doing little sections at a time and then moving on. You need to do long strokes right across to blend the paint as well as you can. Okay, so let's get started. I'm going to start with the sky, and I want it to be quite a dark sky, so I'm going to get my brush nice and wet so the paint blends well. I'm going to dip my brush in the black, and then I'm going to sweep right across the page like this. Now, I want now to start adding my blue. I want the colours to blend, so I need to work quite quickly. So more water, I take my blue and I'm going to just blend the black and the blue together. Make sure the paint becomes nice and flat. I'm going to add more blue, a bit of water so the blue gets lighter and lighter, bit more water to lighten it up here, and then I'm going to start adding white. Can you see that I'm not cleaning my brush after each colour because I want the colours to blend together. Okay, that's my sky. Now I'm going to move on to the sunset section, and I want my sunset to be a yellowy red colour. So, nice wet brush. I'm going to start off with the yellow, and I'm going to start by mixing the blue and the yellow together. And then I'm going to sweep right across the page. I'm not going to add more yellow because I want the colour to get lighter, so I'm adding more water. Now it's time to add water and add the red of the sunset. So sunset, I want the sunset to be darkest nearer the top. So right across. There we go. Let me just add a little bit more at the top. It's getting lighter. I'm going to add water to create a tint. Water and white to create a tint, and you can see it getting lighter and lighter as I go. Okay, now I'm going to think about my sea. Now, if you remember yesterday or earlier in the other video, I talked about the horizon, which is the line where the sun and the sky and the sea meet. And so I'm going to add, using the side of my brush, I'm going to add that line between the sky and the sun. Okay, I'm going to make this part the darkest part of the sea. And now it's time for me to do my sea. So lots of water on my brush, plenty of paint, and sweep right across the page again. Keep sweeping, keep sweeping. I want it a bit darker, so add more paint at the top and sweep down. And if you add water, you change the tone. If you add white, you create a tint. Okay, there we are. So I've done my my background using tints and tones and shades, and now I'm going to start to add the detail. Now for my detail, I need my fine brush. So the first thing I'm going to do is think about where my sun is going to sit. So I'll wet my brush, stroke it on the side, and I want the sun to sit just on the red, just above the red. I get my yellow, and it's just going to be half the sun because the sun is setting behind the red. Okay. There's my sun, nice and bright. And then you may see that there's a reflection of the yellow in the sky and in the sky. So what I'm going to do is wet my brush, add some yellow paint. I want it nice and wet so I can do lines reflecting in the water, and I want them to get lighter and lighter. So as they get lighter, add a little bit of white to make those lines lighter. Okay, so you're changing the colours to make them lighter, and then I'm going to wash my brush. I'm going to take, and I want it washed this time because I'm going to add a solid block of red underneath the sun. Wet my brush, take a little more paint, and in between those I want to add a little bit of white to make that a little bit lighter. There we go. Okay, and now if you notice that the sky, the red of the sky is different in different areas. So I'm going to wash my brush, dry it, and I'm going to add bits where the sky is darker. Because some parts of the sky may be darker than others, and I think it's lighter, darker in the corners. So I add plenty of paint in the corners, and then it gets lighter as you go across. Okay, so it's you decide how you want to do that. And then let's think about the waves in the water. You might want to show those. So I'm going to use my detail brush again, make it nice and clean. And I'm going to start adding waves. Just bits where the sea is lighter than others, okay? You might want to do a big area like this that is darker or lighter, or you might want to do little wavy sections. It's up to you to decide, okay? All right, so then that's the basic seascape that you're going to create, and later on I'm going to show you how to add the details.